mainstream media about the stocks falling as the Nasdaq slides deeper into correction territory. There is literally trillions of dollars at risk, and there is a lot of money being lost right now in the Nasdaq. We've got the GDP growth numbers coming out hotter than expected. We know what the Fed is going to have to do. They're going to be put in a position, even if the 10-year starts slowing down its rate of rise as it's hitting that 10% resistance mark, they're going to have to raise rates. Things are not looking good for the economy. There are still companies laying off thousands, if not tens of thousands of people constantly. Every week, we're seeing this. Employment has got to raise. The Fed needs that to happen. Things are happening very drastically. And I just did a story, actually, my brother, not me, on the Real Estate Ninja channel about home sales nationwide have lost double digits since the peak. We've lost nationwide. The median home price has fallen over 12%, and it's fallen over 15% since last October. That was the high. The high was put in. We are already in a real estate crash. Okay. I know it sounds crazy because a lot of people don't understand it's how it happens. But what I'm going to share with these stories is when the retail investor gets scared and exits. When they exit and they take their losses and run, it causes a cascading snowball down a hill that keeps getting larger and larger until it smacks into the side of the ski lodge. Real quick, before I start this, I just want to tell you this whole thing right here. Hey, thank you, Sunny SoCal Gal, for the super chat. This right here, I remember you guys, I showed you Sat Pulse contacted me and they wanted me to tell you guys about this. They sold 1,000 of these highly collectible coins. They had Bitcoin on them. They're pure half ounce silver. And there was like 26 bucks. It's even more now. It's like 35, up to 35 bucks, I think, of Bitcoin that's on this. Here, you could scan it if you want. Feel free to scan my QR code. Anyway, they sold out in like 36 hours and they contacted me with the Ninja coin design. And it is one of a kind. It is going to be more rare than with these Perth Mint coins, and it's going to be amazing. And so the pre-sale of those are down below. I put the link down to them. They're up to what, $325, which includes shipping, and there's only 10,000 of them being made, and they're going to have 100 XRP loaded on them. Thank you, Eric, for the super chat. So if you guys want to check it out, go check it out. But it is a collectible. Okay. Oh, and just so you know, we just found out one of these just sold online for 500 bucks at an auction, and another one is sold. One of the rare COAs have sold for $600 or $700, something like that. So anyway, I think it's pretty cool. I'm stoked, and I bought some. So I bought a good clip of them. All right, here we go. Out of CNBC. So let's start with the stocks falling on Thursday as we make this video. Stocks fall Thursday. Nasdaq slides deeper into correction territory. Okay, these are the words we want to hear: correction, recession. It's coming, regardless of what we're seeing with the GDP. Okay, because there's some other things that people need to realize in this cycle. On the way to hyperinflation, the road to hyperinflation, people start doing aggressive purchasing of things like. Remember, I did a video a year ago where I said, hey, if you can pay a full year of your homeowner's insurance or your car insurance, do it now. It's very important because you don't want the opportunity for these insurance companies to jack up your rates on the next time, right? If you could pay up to 6 months, pay up 6 months, like prepay. Well, a lot of people have gotten into this. As a matter of fact, it's just been made aware of me. There's 3 states that allow prepaying of income or home taxes, like where you could pay in advance, and they have now stopped that because these county governments are seeing the writing on the wall, and they're seeing that they're able to start jacking up these homeowners taxes, and they don't want you prepaying because then you've locked in that rate. My father, has a storage unit for his fifth wheel, and I told him, Dad, go prepay as much as you can. And he pays it in 1 year blocks. That's the most they'll let him prepay, but he's consistently watching them every couple months raise the prices, right? Well, that's one cycle. And one thing that scares me is the buying of food. And that's why I said it's time. You've got to go and buy some extra food. If not for a catastrophe, you need to think about hyperinflation and don't go crazy. I know what that's like. Trust me. When I bought some freeze-dried food, if like it's going to get bad, we're going to need some emergency food. I was paying like $75 a bucket. Those buckets, when you look at apples and apples comparison, the amount of food and the calories, they're at $400 right now. people will start mass hoarding of food, and that causes these numbers, the GDP numbers, like, oh, these companies are doing great, or we're exporting this much. It's also the beginning of hyperinflation, where people are buying up stuff and they're getting rid of their dollars. All right. And you're seeing where these numbers are proving that. Okay, so let's dive into this. So it says here, the stocks fell on Thursday while the NASDAQ composite dropped deeper into correction territory as Meta became the latest tech company to offer a forecast that didn't quite live up to investors' expectations. Truthfully, do you think that investors' expectations are uh, good, or is it more hopium? Uh, I believe that it's hopium. People always believe that things are constantly going to go up. That's why crashes happen. The tech heavy index lost 2%, dropping below its 200-day moving average for the first time since March. That is no bueno. 200-day moving average is very important. When you drop and confirm below it, you've got yourself a cascade. And as we keep seeing these indexes fall, more and more retail investors will finally give up and go, pull my money. I'm scared. And that fear is what ends up turning that market into a free fall. Okay. Because it's not just one or two investors at the same time, it's a psychology of the buyer and of the seller. And that's why you need to learn these cycles. Um, it said here the S&P 500 dipped 1.2% while the Dow Jones has slipped 212 points or 0.6% with Thursday's loss. The S&P is now off by more than 10% from its July intraday high. I believe that we are now going into correction mode in the stock market. We are witnessing it. And if you remember back in 2008, the stock market had started, major indexes had started to fall about mid 2007, if my memory serves me right. And it was just a steady drop, steady drop, steady drop until that day of fear. And then investors just started liquidating and selling, selling, selling. And then that goes this way, down this way. Facebook parent Meta beat on top and bottom lines in the third quarter, but the company noted that it was seeing some advertising softness so far this quarter. Investors are also worried about cost control with the company's Reality Labs division, which shed 3.7 billion throughout the quarter. Meta shares slid nearly 5%. Now, where this advertising data is very important is you have to realize this is when advertising should be picking up coming in to Christmas season. Okay. That's not good. And the people at Meta know that. Okay. When you start dropping off on your advertising budget prior to when your greatest sales time is happening, that's no bueno. It says the moves follow a brutal trading session Wednesday, which was partly driven by a 9.5% decline in Google parent Alphabet. Alphabet's Class A shares suffered their worst day since March of 2020 on Wednesday after the company reported its revenue in its Google Cloud unit that came in below analyst expectations. And to see, where we were with the NASDAQ and where it is now, it's pretty impressive watching this downhill slide. But see, investors are just expecting all of this right here to just keep going up. But this right here is what is concerning. And I believe that you're going to see the stock markets continue to fall into 2024, hitting a crescendo sometime in 2024 that's really going to throw investors and voters, remember that word, voters, sideways. Remember, there are people that work in the government that want to put out fires. And sometimes to put out a fire, they've got to start the fire. All right. Let's dive into this next story, which I think is very, very crucial as well. Let's see here. Sorry, it's got to reload. We're talking about the GDP. This is very important because what is the GDP tied to? It's tied to the outcome of what the Fed does, right? And everybody's hoping and praying that the Fed stops raising rates and actually lowers rates. There are home buyers around the country that are begging for this. That's not going to happen. I've told you it's not going to happen. And data like this proves it. US GDP grew at 4.9% annual pace in the third quarter, better than expected. Now, I want to share this with you, and this is conspiratorial. I screwed up the word on purpose so that the video doesn't get flagged. There are people in the government that want you to believe that everything is good, that they have done a good job, and that when the bad things happen, it was out of their control. Okay? It was another country that did it to us, something like that. Okay? Because they want to be revoted in. All right. The government's cooking the books. It is very, very real. This is very serious. When we see jobs numbers come out and the way that the mainstream prints it and goes, look at jobs are expanding. These are great. And you look down and it takes a couple days for people to put out the real stories and go, no, look, for every 3 full-time jobs there's now 5 part-time jobs, and those 3 full-time jobs are gone. So people are much more under employed, and they're more stressed out. And that's exactly where certain people in this world want you. They want you stressed out and confused. They do not want you thinking clearly. Because if you're stressed out, you'll go along with the masses. You'll just be a sheep following other people. So it's important to understand the motivation behind some of this reporting that's going on. All right. So it says here the US economy grew even faster than expected in the third quarter, buoyed by a strong consumer in spite of higher interest rates, ongoing inflation pressures, and a variety of other domestic and global headwinds. Gross domestic product, a measure of all goods and services produced in the US, rose at a seasonally adjusted 4.9%. Annualized pace in the July through September period from an unrevised 2.1% pace in the second quarter. The Commerce Department reported Thursday. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones had been looking for a 4.7% acceleration in real GDP, which also is adjusted for inflation. Now, I don't know this to be true yet, but I bet you I will be right. I believe that you will see our exports rising. And the reason why, and I'm just spitballing this, I'm Babe Ruth in this thing right now. It's because countries are getting rid of our currency. And if there's all these countries that don't want the US dollar anymore, treasuries, we know that they're selling them. Well, who's buying them? Well, one way to offload your dollars is to go and purchase goods and services from the only people that will take them, and that's America. And so I believe that you're going to see data coming out, and I'll be reporting on it for sure. But I'm calling this right now because this is just logical thinking. You do not need to be a rocket scientist to figure out these markets and then invest in a way that you become wealthy. Okay. You just need to think away from the crowd. All right. The crowd's diving all their money into their 401ks because they're begging for a little bit of a tax break when they should be really investing for themselves, not putting their money in with money managers and see where this is all going. Right. Type 5, if you understand this, you get it. Like that this makes sense. That the difference between mainstream reporting and other types of reporting on economics and wealth building, it's the difference of the leaders, which way they're going and where the masses are going. You're going to see our exports rise. And our government will hail these numbers as it was their accomplishment. They did this. Okay. But it's not. The world, especially the BRICS nations, are liquidating their dollar holdings. And they're buying things here. Now okay. It says the sharp increase. Hold on. What did I do? Okay. All right. Now let me show you this. And this is very serious because like I said before, I'm going to say it again. Mortgage rates are going into the 20s, but I've got to break it down so where people understand it easier. When I made the call, when a mortgage rate was 4% last January, and I said, by next January, mortgage rates are going to be at 8%. I got lots of flack from it. Okay. If I told you that rates were going to 20% in the future, everybody compartmentalizes it and puts a time frame to it. And they said, oh, it didn't happen yet. Ninja's wrong. So I got to break these down. When mortgage rates officially hit 8% a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I then said, my next call is they will be 10% by next June. I've got to prepare people slowly so that and this is what I do with my students at the real estate crash course. As they take in this data and they see the changes coming, and I've called it ahead of time because it's not because I'm some guru. It's because I'm an investor that's been investing in real estate markets since 2001. And I saw those signs, and they're easily identifiable. And then once they happen, you now know what to do next, right? And what it does is it builds confidence in the investor. And then the investor gets super pumped when it really starts happening. Multiple, steps have taken place, which means they have now more key actionable steps to take to become successful in this real estate crash. Well, this chart I'm going to show you right now on the gross domestic product, this is scary crap, because what I told you is the Fed's data dependent, data driven, because they don't want to be blamed. They're not like the ninja and they go, okay, we know what's going on, and we know that rates have got to be, the Fed funds rate's got to be like 9% right now to squash inflation. But if we do that, they're going to blame us for collapsing the market. So we're going to do it super slow. And we're going to use that time degradation, that time decay model. And we're going to make our steps based off of the past, not the current. Okay. They know what's going on currently. So watch this. This is the US real gross domestic product chart, and it shows the percentages, right? No. Okay. I'll just show you. All right. So you can see GDP numbers before everything got shut down. Then you saw it go negative, right? Okay, we were in a recession. That recession's been recorded, very thin, because you couldn't sell anything in our country and ship it anywhere, right? Everyone was shut down. Does that make sense? Okay, now you've seen GDP falling, but now we have this. And this is what nobody is going to tell you on YouTube. That spike is massive. I believe that you are seeing countries liquidate our currency right now. And anybody that wants to make a short out of this and publish it, because I don't do editing, please do. This spike in GDP growth is because countries are liquidating their dollars and they're buying stuff. You're going to see our exports explode. And what's happening is we're being ripped off and robbed by our own currency, by our own scheme, our own evil scheme of exporting inflation to the world. And now those dollars are coming back and they are going to change. It's a game changer right now. Hope Andy's watching this. He's going to get something from this. Andy, you watching this? I'll make sure you watch it. All right. The sharp increase came due to contributions from consumer spending, increased inventories, exports, residential investment, and government spending. Consumer spending, as measured by personal consumption expenditures, increased 4% for the quarter after rising just 0.8% in quarter two, and was responsible for 2.7 percentage points of the total GDP increase. Inventories contributed to 1.3% percentage points. Gross private domestic investment surged 8.4%, and government spending and investment jumped 4.6. We are seeing, I believe, the government knows at the end of the dollar, not that it's going away, debt, trying to build infrastructure and build the military machine up before the crash. I hope people understand how serious this is. This is no joke. This is not the time to be going on vacations you can't afford. This is the time to be cranking, saving, side hustling, building side hustles, because there's going to be so many opportunities. There's so much opportunity to make money during a crash, because you're going to be the only people that are optimistic. Type 4 if you are optimistic about this. It's going down, but that just gets you more pumped. This report confirmed what we already knew. The consumer went on a shopping spree in the third quarter, said Michael Arone, chief investment strategist for US SPDR business at State Street Global Advisors. Jeez, that's long. He says, I don't think any of this report changes the outlook for monetary policy. That's why I don't think you're seeing an overreaction for the markets. Well, I'm telling you right now, the market's going to get a... See, that's what's crazy to me. The markets have no clue. That's why crashes happen. Go back in any time. The day before the 1929 crash, the day before Lehman Brothers closed their doors and it fell 700 something points, the markets have no freaking clue. They don't get it. They walk blindly like a bunch of sheep. You know that there are fund managers that are running funds that have tons of money that don't even own their car. Score, you went to college. You can't even buy a car cash because you're impatient. So people around this world Have you ever read the book, The Millionaire Next Door? You've got to go read it. One of my best friends in college handed me that book and he goes, I had to buy you this book because it reminds me of you. This is when we were in college. He goes, you remind me of this. And I'm like, what, that I'm a millionaire and you don't know it? Now, I wasn't at that point when he gave it to me, but I read it and it was totally true. See, you have a bunch of fake rich people and a bunch of fake gurus running around, and it's insane. Here, look, I'm going to show you something. Let's go on a field trip. I mean, this is true. Like, I've got nice things in my life. I do. But it's because I can afford them. Like, I've saved, I've invested, I've worked really hard, right? But I still, to this day, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Look at this. Would you look at that beauty job right there. I own this. Now, do I have nice cars? I do. But I don't own them and I don't pay payments on them. And what's very valuable and important for people to understand is that is what sets apart a successful person. I know people in YouTube, they're running around on private jets that they don't even own. Oh, hold on. And there's some that do because of the tax advantage. They're all about to collapse. They're all about to fail because they've never experienced a crash. They're too young. And I hope that I'm waking up the younger generation right now because we are losing our currency status around the world and there is panic buying. And the last thing the government wants you to know is, yeah, some of that GDP is because of China selling treasuries and we're the only ones taking them. And they're still buying up infrastructure in here. All right? This is very serious. It says here, check this out. In other economic news, Thursday, the Labor Department reported that jobless claims totaled 210,000 for the week ended on October 21st, which is up 10,000 from the previous period and slightly ahead of the Dow Jones estimate for 207,000. So right there, even the Dow Jones estimate can't even get, unemployment right, but it's still not high enough to break the backbone of the consumer. The Fed knows this. Now, the backbone's being broken right now. One snap of the vertebrae is credit card losses, massive. Second snap of the vertebrae, auto defaults. It is insane. But yet people, all they do is look at price. Well, good news. Real Estate Ninja just did a video and shows that the median house price has now fallen more on a percentage basis than all of the great financial crash combined. The great financial crash of 2008, around that time. So we have now lost more on a percentage basis, median home price, nationwide. I don't care where you live. The average drop is now greater than that. The banking crash of 2008, the one that happened this last spring, bigger than all of 2008. So now all we're doing is we're waiting. Now, what was different back then than today? Well, you didn't have a suppression of information like you do today. Wouldn't it make sense that as mainstream is doing even wackier things with their information and the suppression is even greater today than it was back then? Now, there still is a way of finding out information, and that's why I have to be cryptic with a lot of my videos to try and share the truth with people and to wake people up. Type 7 if you are starting to wake up, like you feel like you have just in the last year really started to wake up and things are really moving for you now. And it's almost like you live in the matrix and you can't get over what is happening. You're like, how does nobody else see this? Okay, this is what's super exciting about you typing number 7 right now, is that you're not alone. You could see all the people here, right? And what's cool is that you couldn't have gotten to this spot unless it got really bad. And what's really cool is if you're here ahead of time, getting ready for this crash and to be able to take advantage of this real estate crash, you are going to be setting your family up for generational wealth. And that's important because if we lose the wealth in our nation, we're screwed. Check this out. Also, it says durable goods orders increased 4.7% in September, well ahead of the 0.1% gain in August and the 2% forecast. According to the Commerce Department, orders for durables, which include appliances Aircraft and electronics posted their biggest gain since July of 2020. Think about this right now. Appliances and aircraft, how many of those are being shipped off overseas? How many of those? How many electronics are being shipped off overseas? It's not just Americans buying these. At a time where many economists had thought the US would be in the midst of at least a shallow recession, growth has kept pace due to consumer spending that has exceeded all expectations. The consumer was responsible for about 68% of GDP in quarter three. I look at Facebook Marketplace all the time because I still have that side hustle mentality and I still love flipping things. In the last 3 months, luxury items, things that people, the Rolex watches, tractors, nice cars, they're all hitting the market now. People are tapped. They're looking to liquidate the stuff that they bought on credit. It's happening like crazy. High-end speakers. The Facebook Marketplace is showing you right now where the consumer is. They all went on this glut, this buying spree since everything got shut down with government money, and now they're liquidating because they cannot pay their car payments. This is really happening in real time. And 2024 is going to be an absolute slaughter. I'm going to put the link to the new XRP Ninja coin down below. It's twice as much crypto and twice as much silver as this one that sold out in 36 hours. The pre-sale will be over in about a week. And then as they start shipping out, the prices are going to more than likely go up because XRP has made such a big move. I'll put a link down below to that. If you want the real estate crash course, I'll also put a few links out there for 80% off, $199 for you to start preparing for this crash right now. To everyone that hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up button, thank you so much for helping me to try and warn as many people in this country as possible before it's too late and they don't have the credit score and they don't have the confidence and they follow the sheep off the cliff. Hope you guys got something from this. The Economic Ninja is out.